Hey, everybody. Happy Martin Luther King holiday. I'm hoping that you enjoyed your Monday, and I am excited about this. Is the first Pop Culture Power of 2024. And it's cool because it's happening today. And I wanted to share a little story before we get into today's topics. As you guys know, Pop Culture Power is where I kind of get an opportunity to introduce you guys to the topics that the pop culture trending topics that are happening specifically with reality TV that I write about. I'm not just a YouTuber. I'm actually a journalist and specifically a writer. And so I like the fact that I can talk about this stuff, but then also kind of show you guys the entire perspective in the articles that I write for Collider. So Pop Culture Power is all about, bringing those topics, adding a little bit more context and having fun with you guys. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Hey, Monique, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so you can hear when this show is airing, and also when our show Relationship Recap with myself and my co-host Scorpio Mo airs twice a week. Pop Culture Power is once a week. And we have some more stuff coming for you guys. Hey, Edna, good evening. Happy MLK Day. I got an opportunity, guys. I talked a little bit about it on Friday. I got an opportunity on Saturday to interview Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And if you guys are not familiar, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is, I guess, the nephew of John F. Kennedy Jr. And he also, his father was in politics as well and was assassinated as well. But he is running for president in 2024 on the independent ticket. And so he came to Atlanta because, 2024 is political season. And so we know that all the candidates are going to be coming here to talk to the African American population that is Atlanta, Georgia. But talking to him, is interesting because I did not realize that the Kennedys and Martin Luther King's family had such a tight relationship. Before Martin Luther King was able to do his "I Have a Dream" speech, he did a sit-in, a nonviolent protest that actually resulted in him at a counter with some freedom fighters that would actually he ended up getting arrested. And it was Kennedy that actually got him out of jail. So besides this idea of them kind of being connected, they actually weren't connected until that time. Actually, Martin Luther King was endorsing Richard Nixon, because it's so crazy how the African American vote is used constantly as a pawn, and we're leveraged against one side and leveraged against another side. But back in the 50s, most African Americans voted Republican because it was the more conservative party, and that's how most of our views aligned. And then, of course, the Democrats, came and changed things in the way that they kind of promoted or publicized the party. And so most of us, not due to the actual policies or the conservatism, but most of us went with the Democratic Party because of the fact that they were trying to implement programs that were supposedly for minorities and people that were, that were disadvantaged, but really we were disadvantaged because of what had happened. But anyway, that's not important. That story I think is interesting, and I wanted to share it with you guys today. But in my interview with him, and I'll be sharing that on the channel in the next couple of days, in my interview, he said that he was talking about how he realized that he was privileged, and he realized that so many African American business owners like myself and others are at a disadvantage because we don't have an uncle that went to Harvard Business Law and can put us in contact with someone else. We don't have the resources. Most of us are first generation entrepreneurs, first generation business owners. A lot of us are first generation college graduates or second generation. So there's not this legacy and lineage of affluence. So we are getting out the mud. And so he was like, it's so difficult because he realizes that there are only 20 Black banks. Those Black banks obviously will take chances and risks on Black customers, where a lot of times we know that white banks and white mortgage companies and all that do a lot of redlining and keeping us out of those situations. Again, that's not my point. And I try to stay objective and listen to both sides. I definitely think that we need to be listening and not allowing any side to use us. But my point in telling this story was he was talking about how all the disadvantages that he realized African Americans faced, and how it's difficult for African American business owners to be successful. And I'm in a room full of people in Atlanta, Georgia. He is a trust fund baby, and he acknowledged that he's privileged. He just could make a phone call and have resources there. But I am in a room full of probably around 100 people, 100 to 150 people in Atlanta, Georgia, and I asked everyone to raise their hand if they were entrepreneurs, and I would say at least half the room raised their hand, including myself. And I realized that we have had, as a people, African Americans have had so many things going against us. And here this man is telling me all these disadvantages. And I'm looking at him like, and we still got it out the mud and we still do it. And that's why I'm so proud of who we are. Yes, we have issues that we've got to get over, but look at where we were coming from. We are coming from 50 yards behind the starting line. And so many of us are still doing that. Coincidentally, today, my daughter called me, and my daughter has her own business. And she called me and she said, Mom, I have a business question for you. I have a client that booked me to do something, and they extended the time, and she wanted to know how to present that to the client, that she needed to increase, to edit the invoice to reflect the change. And so I walked her through it, and I thought to myself, I am not alone. All the people that I'm around are entrepreneurs or professional, people, urban professionals here in Atlanta. And I thought, wow, so many times we don't think about how far we have come and what we are doing. Here is this man sitting here telling me that basically, according to what the statistics show and what we have, we should not be able to be successful business owners. My small business, Enchanted Branding and Public Relations, allowed me to raise my children. And it also allowed them to grow up in a home where they are now second generation small business owners. And it made me so proud, and it made me realize that we are indestructible as a people. We are we are indestructible. We are gifted. We are talented. We are blessed. And I just wanted to share that with you guys tonight before we get into the messiness that can be reality TV. And I enjoy doing that. But you just have to know, when you look at what we've been able to overcome, and I'm sitting here listening to this conversation, and he's telling me what could have been and what should not be. And I'm sitting here as the exact antithesis of that, right? I am the proof that God says you don't have to have man's approval in order to be blessed, in order to be successful. I come from a family where my father and my grandfather was an entrepreneur, and he just continued to be knocked down by the powers that be. And look at how resilient we are as a people. Look at how we refuse to give up. Look how we refuse to allow the statistics and the information and the rhetoric, the propaganda to stop us. I'm in a room full of other small business owners, and Robert F. Kennedy, is telling us that, Black people are not, we're not given the same advantages, stuff that we already know. And we have never sat back and cried about it. We've just pushed forward. So I just thought that was a beautiful story to celebrate. Me talking to my daughter about how to manage her small business made me so proud today. And so I wanted to start out on that positive note, and I also wanted to encourage anybody out there that is listening to this and is thinking about doing something and wants to be able to create a legacy for their family. I want to encourage you not to give up. I had the opportunity. I'm preparing for my Fox segment in the morning, and I got a chance to watch a little bit of the Emmys before jumping on here with you guys. And I saw Marla Gibbs presented the lead comedy actress award, one of the awards tonight. And she is just an amazing symbol of excellence and greatness. And she said, it's never too late. And I grabbed that for myself, and I want to share that with you guys. I want to give a huge congratulations also to the winners tonight. There were so many amazing moments just in the part of the Emmys that I watched tonight. Io Idibri won for The Bear, and of course, Carol Burnett gave the lead female in a comedy role to Quinta Brunson for her series is on ABC, and I just thought how beautiful that is. What a great way to celebrate MLK Day. So I had to drop that off with you guys this afternoon because it's all about positivity and what this day means to me. And I think watching that beautiful exchange between Marla Gibbs and Quinta Brunson and Io on stage, and then seeing Martin, the cast of Martin, and then being able to have that conversation with my daughter about how to run her business was a beautiful way to celebrate Martin Luther King Day. And I hope that you guys are able to take from that, and that you've had your own examples, and that we can talk again next January about the same thing. But I'm just so proud of who we are and who we continue to be. Now, with that being said, we have got to get into this week's drama. I had some great articles go out. I do want to say that aside from the articles for Collider, you guys know this show is really just focuses on the articles that I get a chance to write for Collider. But I have to give an honorable mention to the cover that I was able to do for Rolling Out on Tommy Miles, i.e., aka Nephew Tommy. Nephew Tommy did an interview that's on this page. You can go back to the archives and listen. But Nephew Tommy did a great interview with me. We talked about the new season of Ready to Love. The first episode aired on Friday. And it was really interesting. He actually really did come through with the curveballs. I got to say, I was a little concerned. He told me that he had curveballs this season, and I didn't believe him, but he was telling the truth. And there were curveballs. And so if you guys saw Ready to Love on Friday, you will see that they actually split the group up. And so you have the first 10 men and women, and then we'll have the second 10 on this Friday. But they actually allowed the cast to kind of get to know each other a little bit better than when you put 20 people in the room and then you eliminate someone on that first night. So want to give a special shout out to Tommy Miles, and it was great writing that cover for Rolling Out. I really enjoy talking to Tommy every time I get a chance to talk to him because he definitely does a great job with Ready to Love. And I think that this season, I don't know that we're going to actually get love out of this season because I do believe that I'm going to pull that cover so I can show you guys. I do believe that when people know that they're going to be on TV, there's a little bit of they do a little trickery, and they're kind of people are more focused on their brand and how they can be popular and how they can actually get get the word out about what they have going on more so than actually falling in love. But hey, we'll see. Kudos to Fort Worth. I heard they're going to be even more outrageous than Dallas, which is hard to imagine, but I'm here for the ride. We'll be back on Wednesday and again on Friday to talk about that. But I wanted to make sure that I shared that cover with you guys. That is the cover from Rolling Out from this past week. Tommy Miles giving Black singles a chance to find love. He is back for 2024, offering people the chance to find love. I love it. We're locked in. I don't know that anyone's going to find love, but he's offering the chance. He's not offering love. He's offering the chance. So we're going to go with that. We're going to roll with it. Okay, so let's move on. So this article, I want to start here. I usually like to let things build, but I realize that this is YouTube and you guys are probably, it's hard to get people's attention to stay for a certain amount of time. So I'm going to start with this article that went number one immediately after I wrote it. And I was actually surprised because I am so over this series. We talked about this last week, but we're back. Married at First Sight, Denver sets the record as being the biggest train wreck in the show's history. Married at First Sight, Denver is by far the most unsuccessful season for the social experiment, with potential divorces and zero connections. Honestly, this season is the worst. 0 connections, 3 divorces. So keep up. Now we had one divorce before the couple actually got to the altar. We had a runaway bride. We've never had that before. And to me, that suggests that the experts are doing a horrible job of picking people that are really ready to get married at first sight. Okay. Second, we had another couple divorce right after the honeymoon because of the whole racial conversation we know between Orion and Lauren. Lauren said that, made a comment about the fact that she didn't understand what the term red skin was. She looked at his face and says, "Oh, I understand." Starts laughing. Orion decides, "I do not want to be in this relationship. This is unacceptable. This was insulting to my culture and to people watching." And he made a big deal of it. Now, I do have to continue to point out that Orion had admitted to her that he's used the N word, but he's obviously not as sensitive about that. So he decided to get a divorce. Lauren was upset, but what can you do when someone wants to divorce you but allow them their paperwork and the ability to do that? Now we're going to move on. And then we got to Claire and Cameron. Cameron is from Australia. And the weird thing about this relationship is there really was no issue, right? Claire just didn't like him. Like, she acknowledged that he was attractive, but she just didn't, she literally did not like him. And so they actually decided to separate. They went to a dinner after the first month. Everyone was celebrating their first month anniversary, and they go to a dinner with the other couples. They decided not to celebrate with each other. They go to a dinner, and then they decide at that dinner, after listening to everyone else, that they wanted to separate. So we have two divorces and a separation, headed for divorce, right? Before, and this is all within the first month, which is crazy to me. And then we also have other trouble on the brink as well. So that was Claire and Cameron, and they decided to Cameron moved out of the apartment. And then we have Emily and Brennan. Now, Brennan has admitted that he is not attracted to Emily. And you guys know I talk about this every week. Actually goes back to The Millionaire Matchmaker. If you guys remember Patty Stanger, she used to have this saying that was a little bit crass. She would say the penis does the picking. But I agree with her. Patty was right all these years, and Patty was right. The penis does the picking. If the guy is not attracted to the girl and he's not into her, the relationship is dead on the water. And this relationship is dead in the water. Brennan is not attracted to her. Emily is trying. On this last episode, she went out with a girlfriend of hers, and she's telling her girlfriend how he's just about at this point, it's like disrespectful, but she keeps putting herself in that situation. The experts have not been able to intervene, and the experts are doing this weird thing. They're having like more FaceTime and phone conversations with the singles than they usually have. I don't know if they didn't want to travel to Denver or what the situation was, but instead of seeing them actually come to a lot of the singles' houses, we're seeing a lot of phone conversations. We're seeing some FaceTimes. And it's all ending in the singles moving further and further apart. So we know that Claire and Cameron are separated, headed for divorce. Emily and Brennan might as well be separated because they're having no connection at all. It's just painful to watch. Emily is trying, and we've seen this happen on episodes before where one person hangs in there and tries, and they end up basically ending the season in a worse place with self-esteem issues because they've tried all season on television to convince someone to try with them, and that other person is totally disgusted by them, and they're rejected over and over again. And it's just horrible to watch. And I know it's horrible for them to go through. Our last couple, Becca and Austin, hit a brick wall because they have a religious difference. So Becca had this breakdown because Austin is a Christian, and she said that she doesn't believe in God. She's agnostic, or, something to that form. She doesn't know, she doesn't have any belief. She doesn't believe in hell. And Austin does. And so he believes that if they're not a Christian, there's the potential of hell. So she starts crying. She's like, "Oh my God, you think I'm going to hell?" And it's crazy. He's like, I don't know. And she's like, "Well, I can't be with you if you think I'm going to hell." So she wants him to go talk to a religious expert. And basically, she wants him to change his mind about his beliefs. And this is why I think that MAFS needs to do a total reboot. I think they need to find different experts, because Someone's religious beliefs, political beliefs, cultural beliefs are the core of who you are, right? And you don't want to come on a television show, marry someone, and then have your entire, the core of who you are as a human challenged and weaponized against you. And that's exactly what's happening. I mean, I think that everyone has a right to worship the way they want. And if you believe that there is a heaven and a hell and you're a Christian, that's perfectly your right. But why would they match someone with that is a Christian with someone who has adverse, passionate feelings against Christianity? It's like, did they set this up to be like something that's going to get conversation going? But in the meantime, both sides are hurting. Emma is like, having breakdowns and saying, "Oh my God, my husband thinks I'm going to hell." Like, this is totally, I think, irresponsible. And it's also why I said that this year is the absolute worst. It sets a record at being the biggest train wreck in history. I think the past few seasons, I wrote this in the article, the past few seasons of the show have left viewers wondering if the experiment works. The Denver season may have proven skeptics right, as it set the record for the most divorces in the single season. And I'm telling you guys, if you've watched it, let me know what you think. But there are zero connections. Zero connections. Emma and Austin had a little bit of a connection, but they have not kissed. No one has been intimate. And when they hit basically hit the brick wall when it came to religion, then it was clear that any connection or attraction that they had for each other is overshadowed by this huge issue. And I think it's just gross negligence on the part of the experts. At this point, the best thing about Married at First Sight is Keisha Knight Pulliam, who hosts the after party. I just love seeing her do it. She does a good job. But the rest of the show is ridiculous. And the fact that they are trying to repair Michael with a bride at this late date is just ridiculous. And I would almost be willing to bet money that it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's just, and it's going to be horrible because this man was left at the altar. The bride comes down the aisle, sees him, and starts crying and says, "I can't do this." And you're going to subject him to another disappointment, and it's going to be a train wreck. But it was the worst season, and that's really hard because there have been some really bad seasons, namely Atlanta. That's why I was like, I don't think any dating show should come back to Atlanta. We have a history of doing things wrong. But that article did really, really well. So if you haven't seen it, please go to Collider and check it out. I'm going to put it up here one last time so you guys can see. Married at First Sight Denver sets the record as being the biggest train wreck in the show's history. Now, since I was talking about I don't know that I brought this over here. I was talking about Atlanta. I did do I didn't pull this. I didn't pull this article. This will just be like a honorable mention. So I did an article on Love and Hip Hop. Or maybe I'll pull it. I did an article on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. And first of all, I am surprised that people are still watching Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Not no disrespect to the show, because I watched it. It definitely was something that had people. It was different. Mona Scott did her thing, right? The show was very different when it first aired. I watched Love and Hip Hop New York a few times because at that time Jim Jones had just had this monster hit, Ballin', and so it was interesting to see for Love and Hip Hop to have a real hip hop artist on the show was different than, usually you see reality shows weren't really getting like real talent. So the fact that they were able to get a real, hip hop artist to be on the show, it was impressive. I will admit that. However, when the show came to Atlanta, things took a turn, and it took a totally different. It was a totally different vibe, and it actually, I think, was a bigger hit. I don't know the statistics on that, but I would think that Atlanta was actually bigger than New York because of one word. Actually, two words. I'll give it to them. Stevie J and Jocelyn. Stevie J and Jocelyn made Love and Hip Hop Atlanta off the chain as far as the drama. But this article that I did, because we were talking about Atlanta and how Atlanta always has just we just continue to always kind of have an ability to make things really, really bad when it comes to romance. But Kirk and Rashida Frost's marriage embodies love and hip hop. Now, depending on who you are and what you enjoy about love and relationships, that could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing. Um, Number one, the fact that they have been married, I believe, like 25 years this past December is impressive. I want to say that first. They have been married for a long time. I actually, when I first started in PR, worked on Rashida's project under another PR company and got to know her. She's as beautiful. She really is a beautiful girl, beautiful woman, rather, and also very nice. And I enjoyed working with her. I was a junior publicist at that time. And she was like a really big star here in Atlanta, in the Southeast. She had some music that was out. And I remember doing an event with her, and it was at DTLR, this clothing and shoe store, urban clothing store, and her and Kirk was back there. And I remember, I didn't know they were a couple. I knew that was like her, who was a part of her project. And later I learned they were married. They were just a very cool couple, right? Everybody in Atlanta loved Rashida and Kirk, and they've been together for a really long time. So that's the good part. Now, the the bad part is that we saw they actually were on the show early on, and it actually gave additional credibility to the show because Stevie J was not really in a loving relationship. It was some foolishness. But with Rashida and Kurt, you actually saw a couple that was really legitimate, right? So again, it gave credibility to love and hip hop. She was actually a hip hop artist, and they were in it together. They, to me, embodied what love and hip hop is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about the music industry and people that are actually legit in the music industry, not some of these people that are saying they are and they're not. But actually legit in the industry. You can go back and pull her up. She had records that did really well in the Southeast specifically, and he was, part of her team. So I thought it was a good thing. Now, years later, I think it was like season 6, we see the unthinkable happen, and a woman has accused Kurt of cheating, and it ends up being true. Now, it was season 6. So I'm just going to read you guys a clip from a little snippet of the article. Season 6 was shocking for 11 hip hop Atlanta fans as rumors of Kurt stepping out on his wife were realized in the form of a former stripper named Jasmine. Audiences were aghast when the affair was confirmed, and Jasmine provided proof that her son was the biological offspring of Kirk Frost. Now, that was crazy. I hated to see it because I really liked the two of them together. And I felt like, at first I was like, is this for the show? Is this for ratings? Is this for real? Like, because it just seems so. I just gave her way more credit, and I gave him way more credit. But you can never give someone too much. Everyone is human. What I will say about Rashida is that she handled the situation beautifully. She always has maintained. The way she carries herself has always been with grace and class, no matter what. I'm sure she probably cussed him out behind closed doors. I'm sure she might have even, they probably had some interactions that we did not see. But I love the fact that she never did that publicly. I want to say that I admire the fact that when it did come out that it was his son, she did not ever turn her tongue against the child. And she also wanted the child to have a relationship with her children, that her child that she has with Kurt and their children. Like she was immediately an advocate for that. And I think that shows just, womanhood at its finest. Now, if you choose to stay with your husband or not, that's on you. But the fact that she did not ever become petty, like we see a lot, and like talk negatively about the child, we never saw that. And she had a public platform to do whatever she wanted. So I have to give her a lot of credit for the way she handled the situation. I don't even know if I would have been able to handle it that way. because I believe in always holding yourself to a higher standard and going high. But that was hurtful, and I know that had to hurt her, specifically for it to be played out on a national platform that was enjoying the fact that it was happening. So many people were tuned in, and it was gossip going, and the other girl got a chance to be on the show. It was a hot mess. But anyway, the marriage absolutely made it through. They were able to make it through. They are still together. And they recently did a Christmas picture. That's a part of the article. You can go back to Collider and check out that article. They did a Christmas photo with all their children and grandchildren. And, and Kirk was like, well, people would rather, of course, the fans are always Team Rashida. Some of them are cool with Kirk, some are not. But I mean, there has to be something said for sticking in there. And I think that most marriages that last that long have some pain in them. Now, I am not an advocate of struggle love. So I just want to make that clear. I don't think that hip hop relationships, or relationships that are part of the culture, that they should always involve struggle love. I don't think that. But I do think that any marriage, and Michelle Obama has talked about this at length, no marriage is perfect. And so if you've been in there for 25 years with them being in the entertainment industry and on reality TV, and they've managed to stay together, I have to take my hats off to them. And I have to say, as I said in the article, I think they embody what the entire culture of that show was supposed to be. Now, where it went after that, I don't know. And it's almost like, you see other younger people asking them for advice, because they're successful. Not only are they on the show, but they also have a restaurant, Frost Bistro. They also have a few stores. They have one in Phipps Plaza here called Press. So they're doing really, really well. They're a great example of what can happen if you stay in there and, work it out. So kudos to them. And kudos to Mona Scott for actually having a couple on there that had some staying power. Now, I don't know what all happened behind the scenes. I don't want to know. As my granny would say, I don't know and I don't want to know. But I love the fact that you see a marriage that was able to stand the test of time. But most importantly, I like seeing a woman that held herself with grace and didn't allow what was going on around her to bring her out of character. And I salute Rashida for that. All right. So moving on now, that was the high. Now we're going to go to the low. Okay. We got to have balance. So the high was Rashida. The low is Love and Marriage Huntsville, right? So Love and Marriage Huntsville. First of all, we have to go to this. Martell holds domestic violence arrest. Isn't surprising to Love and Marriage Huntsville viewers. Okay. Instagram streets, Twitter streets, YouTube streets, I'm sure, have been talking about the fact that Martell Holt was arrested last week, right after the part one of the reunion aired on that Saturday. He was arrested on Tuesday on domestic violence charges. Now, I know that that sounds very, very flagrant, but the reality is the charges were for harassing communication, which was left over from the fact that he tried to threatened his ex-wife, Melody Rogers, not Melody Holt, Melody Rogers. He tried to threaten Melody Rogers with revenge porn, which is ridiculous for an ex-husband to do to his wife. Like, I don't know who does that to a wife. Like, who puts out revenge porn of their wife? That would make you look worse than her, because I promise you, just getting into the details of it, no one is going to look at a wife bad for having sex with her husband. Melody is a beautiful woman. If he released that, he was probably going to raise her stock and deplete his even more. But I mean, he's obviously hurt. And that's a marriage that did not work. I don't believe that he would be physically violent, but I do want to say this. I'm not surprised that happened, because if you guys watch the reunion and if you watch this season, Martell's ego has been slain, completely slain. So his ego has taken a beating. Melody said on television that she was never sexually satisfied during their 13 years of relationship. I'm not a man. I don't know Martell personally, but what I do know is that it's hurtful to any man. That is a huge blow to the ego. And I know he felt some kind of way. I know he felt some kind of way when he heard it on the reunion, when they taped it, but I know that he felt some kind of way even more when it broadcast on national television and people were clowning him. You know, men are going to clown a man. That's just fodder for blogs to go crazy. And Melanie doubled down at the reunion and actually said it again that she was never satisfied. Now, first of all, one point is a lot of times women aren't satisfied, and women have been lying to men forever. I have been campaigning for women to stop lying for a long time, but they're not going to, because I think little girls are taught to cater to guys' egos. We're taught that from the womb. It's not going to change. Well, this new generation may be doing less of that, but kudos to Melody for telling the truth. Martell shouldn't care anyway because they're divorced. He fumbled the bag, he fumbled the family. But in any case, I'm sure he was, embarrassed and a little bit humiliated by that. Melody continues to win. She continues to win this war between the two of them, which is really sad because you're right. The children are at stake, but they are and I think that, let's be honest, the reason that the two of them have so much spite and vitriol towards each other is probably because there was a lot of love there at one time. And I think they were probably like the perfect looking couple. I think both of them are kind of alike in the fact that they're very good looking people. They're very, they wanted to be the power couple, right? But there were holes there that they didn't fix. So whatever the case, they're divorced now, but it's obvious that both of them are hurt still because of the way they go back and forth. I do think Melody has moved on, but I also don't think that she would take some of the digs that she does if she was completely really healed. Like, you just don't do that. You don't need to talk about, because she knows what that's going to do. Melody is very smart. So I think that both of them are hurt, and I hope both of them can heal. I hope that she finds love, which I believe she will if she hasn't already. And I hope that he heals as well. He was obviously wrong. He was 100% wrong. He was 100% wrong. But I know he's hurting, and they need to just heal. Both of them need to leave each other alone and heal for the sake of their children. But this entire cast, I agree. Marriott said this whole Love and Marriage Huntsville cast is dark now. I agree. It's really sad to see, but for him to resort to threatening his ex-wife and mother of his children with revenge porn. If I was her, I would have done the same thing. I think she did the right thing by going to the authorities, because that's embarrassing to her children. That's embarrassing to her. And it was with her husband. Like, where did they do that? So Martell is wrong, and it's just his ego getting in the way. And his ego has been in the way, just all up in the way. That's probably part of the issue, is the ego that he has and the fact that he has to figure out a way to heal himself and move forward. But I have a second article on Love and Marriage Huntsville. If you guys saw the reunion, Love and Marriage, part one of the Love and Marriage Huntsville season 6 reunion outshined the whole season. Lackluster sex lives, i.e. Martell and Melody, irretrievably broken friendships, and family squabbles were the focus of part one of Love and Marriage Huntsville season 7 reunion. This show, I wasn't really excited about this show when it first came on, because I was like, what could be fun about Huntsville? Like, what's going on in Huntsville that we need to know? And then I saw that they made it all about these relations, these marriages, and the marriages are broken. The friendships are broken. Instead of it being about Black entrepreneurs and Black couples and families that were coming together and supporting each other, it has been totally the opposite. And we see just the dysfunction with the women. We see dysfunction with the actual relationships. I love Kimmy and Maurice, but watching Maurice's response to Kimmy's cancer and her remission has been disappointing, to say the least. But I will say this, the thing that I did like about this reunion, and I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me, and I'm okay with that, is that I was glad to see LaTisha standing up for herself. So I believe that reality TV rewards bullies. Like, this whole culture that we have, people champion people that are mean to other people. And I think that is ridiculous. And this whole idea of, if you're not a shark, you're going to get eaten by a fish, is ridiculous. And I think that all the ladies on the show do messy stuff to each other. But I think it's in some people's nature to enjoy, belittling others and making them look bad and making them look stupid. And I think that some people, if that's not their nature, and I think LaTisha is a Libra like myself, I don't like bullies. I don't like being around bullies. So it's not that I'm afraid of them. It's almost like when I see energy like that, I just remove myself from the situation, right? So I respect her and I relate to her in that way. But seeing this season, we've seen people talk about her marriage. And at the end of the day, she has a right to do whatever she wants to do with her marriage. But seeing her cousin throw water in her face on camera, and she just got up and didn't go back and forth with her, I felt bad for her because I feel like at some point people have to know that if you keep pushing me, I'm going to push back. And I think that at this reunion was the first time LaTisha was like, I'm over it. I'm not doing it no more. Yes, I'm a Libra. Yes, I keep my cool. Yes, I know Marceau wants me to always go high, but these chicks got me messed up, and don't let the smooth taste fool you. I'm not going to let you push me around. I feel like, and you guys know, if you watch this channel, I went and interviewed Kiki. And, family squabbles are family squabbles, but there is never, ever an excuse for throwing water in someone's face who has not done anything to you physically. All she did was ignore her. And the fact that Kiki came and tried to start something back and forth with LaTisha, and she ignored her and she threw water in her face, and LaTisha didn't respond. I was like, okay, she's gonna have to buck up at them. She's gonna have to show them, because from LaTisha to Stormy and even Melody, everybody like pushes her around. And I love the fact that she stood up for herself at this reunion. And I think that she should continue to do that until they back off and they realize that she is not to be played with. Like, everybody should respect everybody. The way Stormy has treated her this season, if you don't like her, it's cool. Just leave her alone. But calling somebody's husband a bitch, she know good and well most women are not going to be cool with you calling my husband a bitch. Sorry, I tried to spell it the first time. It came out the second time. It slipped out. But but yeah, that's whack. It's whack to me. And I'm glad that LaTisha is standing up for herself, because I feel like if you don't, they're going to keep doing it. And I feel like everybody on reality TV, specifically us, specifically urban, specifically urban shows or Black shows, the bully is rewarded. People love that, which is crazy. I don't know what women out there are championing people being bullies, throwing someone in. I don't care if you are a recovering addict. I don't care who you are. Throwing water in someone's face is disrespectful, and you deserve to be checked and probably slapped. But hey, she didn't do that, and that's probably kept her on the show. But to me, at the point that Kiki threw water in her face, she should not have been on the show. Like, if you can't control yourself and you do something physical to someone else, there should be a consequence and repercussion for that. So anyway, I just want to say I appreciate LaTisha standing up for herself, and my message is go LaTisha. Libras, we have decorum. She looks amazing. She keeps herself. She's a beautiful woman, but don't let the beautiful, beautiful exterior fool you, and don't let the fact that I'm not slick, I'm not crazy, just because I'm not slick and I'm not slow and you're not slick. So I'm glad she checked them, and I hope that she continues to do that. And Marceau makes things worse for her, but then he tries to make her be this, stand down. No, I'm glad she checked him too. No, I got to stand up for myself, because he doesn't really stand up for her. Like, to me, when Kiki threw that water in her face, he should have went and said that this is not acceptable. Like, you don't just throw water in my wife's face. That's not cool. So if you're not going to protect me and say that this is wrong and this person should not be on the show, then please stand down when I defend myself. And so go LaTisha. And I hope this continues, because I'm tired of seeing them girls bully her. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. My Libra energy be bubbling up. I'm like, girl, say something to them. Like, and you know what? Stop arguing with them about if your husband is cheating. If he's cheating, it's your business. It's not theirs. Why are you worried about what my husband's doing? Worry about your own. Worry about your husband. It's not your responsibility to check my husband. That's on me. I'm handling the business. Handle the business that pays you. So, anyway, Libra, Team Libra solidarity to LaTisha. I don't take sides, but what wrong is wrong and right is right. And Kiki throwing that water in her face was wrong. I don't understand why Stormy hates her so much. It's almost like because she doesn't defend herself, it makes her a target. So maybe with her standing up for herself, we can stop this. This season hopefully can be the end. If not, give them the business next season, LaTisha. Okay, just get them chicks off you, because it's just not. It's unfortunate that we're rewarding bad behavior on reality TV. That's unfortunate, but since we have to, don't get it twisted. Okay, with Libras are not, we calm until we're not. You keep pushing us, and then it gets to a point where it's bad. So anyway, I'm in solidarity with LaTisha. Okay, all right, so we're going to moving on to okay. drama. Real Housewives of Potomac. Child, Mia solidified her place for season 9 of Real Housewives of Potomac with a mystery bae. Mia Thornton was booed up with a new guy during the holidays, showing off a new engagement ring, sparking speculation months after filing for divorce. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and Mia is all types of wrong. but the thing about Mia, you can't be upset with Mia because she's wrong from the jump. Like, she's admits from the jump that she, married a man of a certain financial status so that she could live a certain lifestyle. And when he was no longer able to provide that lifestyle, she removed herself from the situation and has filed for divorce. The divorce is not final, but she's out showing off an engagement ring to a new guy. Now, it was wild, the fact that the rest of the girls on the cast were cheering her on. I think they just like the fact that Mia is unhinged. If there was a definition of unhinged, it would be Mia. She has no shame. No shame at all. And this past Sunday, I appreciated her no shame, because she had to get our poor Robin together. Like, Juan is lying, and Mia recognizes those lies because that's how she operates. So for her to tell Robin that in order for Juan to be able to use his credit card at a hotel, he had to be there, I'm so glad she shared that with our good sis Robin. Like, girl, come on, stop. And I'm fine if Robin wants to stay with Juan, but just quit lying for him. Okay. Now, I don't care about that. But the fact that Mia has moved on, I don't know if this is smart. I'm not sure if this is smart, because it would have been wiser. I told Mia needs to take a book out of Ashley Darby's, Gold Digger Handbook. Ashley needs to do a Gold Digger Handbook, and she needs to give a copy to Mia, because showing off an engagement ring when you're not married, that's probably not going to do well for your divorce proceedings, and the paperwork that has to come from that. And we don't know if this new guy has enough money to keep you in Potomac. We know that she had to downsize from her grandiose house into a townhome. This new guy, there's rumors that he's on the radio. People on the radio don't make a ton of money. So I don't know that this was the best thing to do. I do think it helped the blogs to keep her position locked in, but long term, I'm not sure if this is going to be the best move. So while Mia is unhinged, I believe that if you're going to practice gold digger ways, there's a way to do them. There's a way to do everything. And if you're going to be wrong, there's a way to be wrong in the best way, the best of your ability. And this is not it. This is not it at all. This is not it. I'm not saying there are not a lot of women that have not taught their daughters and have not move themselves up in society and culture by who they marry, and hypergamy is alive and well. But Mia is doing this the wrong way. This is the wrong information. And I hope that any young women out there that are watching this show and are using Mia as an example of how to level up, please know young sis, this is not it. You would want to watch Ashley and the way Ashley took her beauty queen looks, and she got the older gentleman. She secured the bag, and then she had two children, and then But Michael Darby, even though you think he's disgusting or whatever, he had the coins that Ashley needs, and Ashley is able to continue on in that lifestyle. And if you guys notice, Ashley has not flashed any engagement ring with anybody else because she wants to continue to get that money. Now, I'm not saying that Gordon is going to get money again, or Ed is going to get money again. But what I am saying is that the way she's handling this is probably not going to ensure her next situation is as affluent as she would want it to be. So there is a certain etiquette that goes along with gold digging, and Mia is not it. Now she has the charm and the ability to cater to a man's ego, but as far as how you handle yourself, girl, I don't know about that. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the way she's doing this. I think it's going to end badly, or she may be fumbling. Now, I'm not saying that she may not, be able to get herself back in a good position, but it's just unnecessary. It's unnecessary fumbling, and it's gonna end badly. So she did go viral for a day, but unless this gentleman, is has more money than her ex had, legitimately, that might have been a knee jerk reaction that we should not have done. You know, um, Attention is a hell of a drug, and sometimes we need to forego the attention for the long game, and that's not what Mia is doing. So, again, I have encouraged. I wrote an article a little while ago about Mia needing to take a page out of the Ashley Darby Gold Digger Handbook, and I stand firm. I stand firm on my beliefs. Also, speaking of Real Housewives of Potomac, there there has been information released. We know that Monique Samuels and Chris Samuels are divorced. Chris Samuels has lost a lot of weight and is out doing his thing. Monique has doubled down and saying that she's doesn't regret anything, and she's in a good place. She's no longer on Love and Marriage DC. But this article says Monique Samuels was over her marriage before joining Real Housewives of Potomac. Real Housewives of Potomac offered Monique a platform to reclaim the celebrity lifestyle she was chasing before marriage to NFL player Chris Samuels. Now, in order to understand my point with this article, you would have to know a little bit about Monique, and that is initially before she married Chris, she was a rapper. So she was already had stars in her eyes and was headed on that path. She meets Chris, he's an NFL player, and the access to the celebrity lifestyle is definitely there when you are with an NFL player. Athletes are a lot like rappers in that they have access to all the girls that the rappers have access to, and they also have more money than a lot of the rappers, especially when you're a player like Chris. So I understand why she chose to marry Chris. But marrying Chris meant that Monique had to put her lifestyle on hold. It had to take a back seat, and she became a mom. She actually was handling a lot of his business. She talks about that in a couple of interviews, how she was really focused on his business and helping him. And her rap career, she said goodbye to that, and became the dutiful mom and housewife. And she started living that lifestyle of the privileged woman, that stay home mom and that club and all that. Professional athletes, women usually live a great life. They get to go shopping, they get to look beautiful, but Monique still had stars in her eyes. And so when the opportunity to join Real Housewives of Potomac came around, this was the opportunity for her to flex her shine and to get the focus on her, because she had been behind Chris in his shadow. And remember, she never wanted to do that. She always wanted to be out in front. So she gets out in front with Real Housewives of Potomac, and that goes horribly wrong. She has to backpedal. Her personality is just not a good fit with the ladies on Potomac. She ends up leaving. And then she ends up going to Love and Marriage DC after a couple of years. Now, that whole thing with her and Ashley on Real Housewives of Potomac, I feel like she was wrong. I know a lot of people probably disagree, but you just have to be able to, if you're going to be on reality TV, and like I said, we know that bullying is a big part of what makes people successful. You have to be able to control your emotions. I mean, if you can't control yourself, you're not ready to be on reality TV. If you can't control how you react, if you're easily triggered, then you're not able to be on reality TV. And yes, back in the day when the reality TV first came on, people could jump over tables and shake the tables and take off their shoes and fight each other. But this is not what this is. You'll get a lawsuit and be sued. And it's not, it's not like that. You have to be able to control yourself. If you can't control yourself, you're not ready to be in business to me, and definitely not on reality TV. So, and you have to know going on that people are going to be trying you and trying to get you to lose your cool. So if you lose your cool, that's on you. So she lost her cool. She ended up leaving the show, and then she went to Love and Marriage DC. And ironically, in Love and Marriage DC, it wasn't even with her and the other ladies, but it was her relationship with Chris that people were like, wait a minute. On the show, Real Housewives of Potomac, we saw her fighting with the other girls, but we didn't really see a lot of her and her husband, right? In DC, we were able to see that marriage had all kinds of issues. She was unhappy. He was silent, but I feel like he was passive aggressive because usually if one person is unhappy, both people are unhappy, but he just wasn't vocal about it. So they end up leaving that show because of how they look. And they did look really bad, specifically her, because she was complaining about him, making him look, it just was obvious she was very resentful towards him for whatever reason. They get a divorce. They're no longer on the show. And my belief is that the reality TV, I don't think that they would have gotten divorced if she was not on reality TV. I feel like reality TV gave her an opportunity to get her own spotlight, and she's on the radio now. And so she has enough of a recognition. She has enough of the fame level, enough of the. I guess if you look at where she's at, her profile is high enough to where she can go ahead and do her thing, and the focus is on her. And it allowed her the opportunity to make money and to be, to have a little bit of that dream that she had. So I feel like getting on the show, I feel like she was not happy in her marriage when she got on there the first time. Of course, this is all my opinion. It's just based on the fact that listening to her interviews with various different sites, she talked about the fact that she had this life. She wasn't doing it. She put everything to the side for him. And a lot of times people aren't happy doing that. Like they're not happy taking a back seat to whatever their spouse is doing. And so whenever an opportunity comes to reverse that, or they get a chance to recognize what they initially wanted to do, they take that chance. And I feel like that is what Monique has done. I mean, she felt like, Love and Marriage DC was actually centered around her. So she wants to be the head, be the HBIC. And I think that we'll probably see her on reality TV again. Obviously, it won't be with Chris. I think that she wants to be the head chick. And if she gets married again, the guy will probably be in her shadow this time, as opposed to her being in his. Not anything bad. It's just observations from an older sis, looking and seeing how things are and how things move. A lot of times, giving up something for a person may not be the relationship may not be enough, and you may not know that until much later. So that is what I think happened in that marriage. I really wish the both of them well. It's interesting because Chris has been seen out with some of the castmates from the show. He's an ex-NFL player. He probably still is good with his money. He seemed kind of conservative, and not like one of the super flashy guys that spends all their money. So he probably is good. He'll get him another young, beautiful wife and he'll be fine. And she has this new audience, and she probably has, I don't know. She's probably not going to be able to be an artist, but she's definitely a personality. She's definitely somebody that once you have married rich, even if she wasn't on reality TV, you have a network that is very beneficial. So she's going to be just fine. He's going to be fine. And, they probably are going to be happier apart. But I think that's a good lesson to women. Like sometimes if you really have something you're passionate about, never allow a relationship to make you dim your dreams and dull your shine, because you're not going to be happy and you may end up being resentful for it later. So that's my 2 cents. That is the pop culture power for this week. Again, I want to wish you guys a happy MLK Day. I hope that you all enjoyed the day off. Hopefully you had a day off and you got a chance to enjoy it with family. We ran through Married at First Sight. Horrible. I am really not a fan this season. I think that the producers need to do a reboot. We need new, as much as I love Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper and this new Dr. Pia person, it's time for them to go. It's time for them to go. They have not done a great job. Whoever's casting has done a horrible job. This is like borderline irresponsible at this point, because you have people that really aren't ready to be married at first sight. You got brides running out, people not wanting to move in the apartment together, other folks getting divorced after the honeymoon. It's a wrap. 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 Last but not least, again, kudos to LaTisha for standing up for herself on Love and Marriage Huntsville, this reunion. This is a new season. Hopefully, when they come back, LaTisha will no longer be the pushover, the one that everybody can throw water in her face. Are you kidding me? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're not accepting that. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you're just seeing this later, make sure that you like this, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. You don't have to agree with me. This is all opinion. This is all fun. If you want to see the articles, you can go to collider.com. You can put in my name, Christal Jordan, and see more about the stories. You can always leave me a message here or on Instagram. And of course, tune in on Wednesday when my co-host Scorpio Mo and I will be back with more relationship recap, where we'll be talking about a lot about reality TV. Obviously, we're on Ready to Love, but we may do a little conversations about some of these other shows and the relationships as well. And always on Friday, we are recapping Ready to Love. So make sure that you tune in for the live recap on Friday at 10, Wednesday at 8, and I will be back next Monday with another edition of Pop Culture Power. This is your girl, Christal XO. I love you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.